And welcome to a very special 400th episode of the Media Boat Podcast. Yes, we've been doing this podcast for 400 straight weeks. And if you don't know by now, my name is Mike, and his name is Matt.
My name is Matt. His name is Mike. Yes, 400 episodes of this Media Boat podcast, which is, by the way, a podcast that brings you news and thoughts about movies, music, television, and video games, but not necessarily in that order.
I don't know, it's been a while since we switched up that order.
I know.
I like that we're
Today,
still saying not necessarily in that order.
yes, because we can do it in whatever order we see fit. So today
Yes.
is September the 12th, 2023. As you said, this is episode 400. So why don't we just go right into it and do what we do best, which is talk about everything under the sun, news, reviews, etc.
Yeah, well, we're going to start episode 400 like we always do with the music section. Start the
Yes.
music section with the Billboard, and we start the Billboard with the Hot 100. And your number one song is no, not a country song. Praise, praise, not a country song.
Yeah, not a country song
Unless you
this week.
count Doja Cat as country now, because
No.
Paint the Town Red by Doja Cat is your number one song.
Yep.
At number two, I Remember Everything by Zach Bryan, but really it's because it's featuring Casey Musgraves. At four, Fast Car by Luke Combs. At three, Fast Car by Luke Combs. At four, Cruel Summer by Taylor Swift. And rounding out your top five, Last Night by Morgan Wallen.
Yep.
All right. As for your albums chart, you'll Billboard 200. At number one is Zach Bryan by Zach Bryan. We'll get to Zach Bryan a little bit later. At number two, One Thing at a Time by Morgan Wallen. At three, Utopia by Travis Scott. Coming in at four and straight to the heartstrings of everyone out there, Songs You Know by Heart, colon, Jimmy Buffett's Greatest Hits. Hits? There's an S in parentheses there.
Yes.
By Jimmy Buffett.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, which that's got the bump from his death from a couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And rounding out your top five, Midnights by Taylor Swift. So yeah, Parrot Heads
Yeah.
are clearly getting that Jimmy Buffett bump right there.
Yes. So yeah, the two big stories this week out of Billboard, is Jimmy Buffett just saying hi on the 200 list there, and then as for the 100, Doja Cat's number one hit actually is relevant when you consider that there was a little bit of a drought of a hip hop slash rap single being at number one. It had been a while. As you had mentioned, it had been dominated by country in the last few months. So exciting to see Doja Cat back up top, because it definitely makes all those doomsayers about like, oh, rap is like not as popular as it used to be. It kind of hushes that conversation a little bit.
Mm-hmm. If you didn't like any of those albums, we have new releases.
A lot of them this week.
Yes, and one that you're looking forward to, starting with The Land is Inhospitable. And so are we by
Mm.
Mitski. Congratulations, new Mitski album on the way.
Yeah, we'll see. Friday.
We also have Strange Disciple by Nation of Language, Perennial by Woods, Sorry I Haven't Called by Vagabond, Stone by Baroness, End by Explosions in the Sky.
Yeah.
Hey, Explosions in the Sky is back.
Yeah.
We also have The Love Album, Off the Grid by Diddy. Is that Diddy?
Yes, that Diddy.
That Diddy.
Yes.
That Diddy done a new album. Uh, Also, Bluegrass by Willie Nelson. Yes, that Willie Nelson, who we will
Mhm.
talk about in a bit here.
Yes.
Magic 3 by Nas. Yes, that Nas with an
Mhm.
album. Trust Your Gut by Warriors. Revamped by Demi Lovato. Yes, Demi Lovato's out with a new album.
And my understanding about that one is that is a bunch of re-recordings. Taylor's version much? of her previously recorded songs, but with a rock edge.
Is that why it's revamped
Revamped. Yeah.
with the amped like clearly in there?
I think that you're right. I think that's what she was going for there.
Well, on the opposite side of that spectrum, there's Silence Between Songs by Madison Beer. There's also Brothers Osborne by Brothers Osborne with their self-titled album, but not their debut album.
No.
I think this is their fourth album, I believe.
Okay.
Um, so many albums to get to because we also have It's the End of the World, but It's a Beautiful Day by 30 Seconds to Mars.
Yep. 30 Seconds to Mars is back.
Someone let Jared Leto back into a studio album.
I guess so.
All right. There's also, if you don't listen to that, there's also Victor in all caps by Vic Mensa. Posthuman, Next Gen by Bring Me the Horizon. Yes, that Bring Me the Horizon. There's also Confessions of the Fallen by Stained. These are some throwback
Yeah,
bands
it's a
here.
weird week.
It's like everyone just put your album out now.
Yeah.
Because we also have The Devil Always Collects by Brian Setzer.
Not his orchestra, just him.
Yes. Movie of the Week by Shaky Graves. Ram by Wheeler Walker Jr. Black Rainbows by Corinne Bailey Ray. Wish Upon a Star by Herb Alpert. In Flight by Bare Naked Ladies. Yes, those bare naked ladies, unlike those bare naked ladies.
Yeah.
And lastly, Play in all caps by R.L. Grime.
Yep, a lot of different things.
So much. So I think there's at least something for someone out here to listen to. Whether
There
you
has to
want your
be.
rock, your hip hop, your Demi Lovato, your country, your
Yep.
Mitski, even your bare naked ladies.
Or you can just continue listening to Olivia, but we'll get to that later.
Hold your thoughts on that. We will get there. But
We'll get
first,
there.
we got to talk about the newest sensation on the Billboard, Zach Bryan.
Yeah, he had a weird
Sorry.
week, turns
Yeah.
out.
Well, he was Bill booked, possibly. All right. So, country star and current number one album holder on the Hot 100 or Hot 200, country star Zach Bryan was arrested on charges of obstruction of investigation
Yes.
in Oklahoma Thursday, according to multiple news reports. He was released on bond later in the day. Commenting on the incident after his release, Bryan owned up to being, quote, out of line with police. He said on Twitter X, quote, today I had an incident with the Oklahoma Highway Patrol. Emotions got the best of me, and I was out of line in the things I said. I support law enforcement as much as anyone can. I was just frustrated in the moment. It was unlike me, and I apologize. They brought me to jail, and there is a mugshot of me still floating around. Prayers we can all move on from this, and prayers people know I'm just trying the best I can. I love you guys, and I'm truly sorry to the officers. End quote. He did go on, eventually elaborated on the incident, which basically amounted to him mouthing off to police officers in a 5-minute video post.
I feel like this is going to be one of those stories that, depending on who you are, is going to hit you different ways. Like, I feel like the people who like want to believe that Zach Bryan is not a stereotypical country guy, he's not Morgan Wallen, like they're going to be like, see that he's cool because he was like mouthing off to a cop and he got arrested. Then there's going to be the other part of this conversation, which is like, wow, how could he do that? I knew he wasn't one of us, kind of thing. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, but he did deal with it very quickly and he made a public comment right away. And he says, "Oh, I still like I did what I can like with the officers." I'm like, yeah, okay. It's just that I don't know. It comes across to me pretty wishy-washy, the statement. Like,
Hey, Zach Bryan, blink twice if you were abused by the police and they're telling you to make this statement.
right? Like what actually happened here? I mean, I'm gonna take him on face value here. Maybe he just was had a few drinks and he was just being a jerk. It happens to us all, I guess.
Yes,
We just
to
don't get
police
arrested.
officers in Oklahoma
Yeah.
and booking on obstruction of investigation, which is in itself a very loose fitted charge of what exactly are you investigating then?
Yeah. It's not honestly that big of a story. It was just something that happened this week, and it's only important because of how prominent he is right now on the charts. And
Mm-hmm.
like, but besides that, it seems like kind of a non-event. But I feel like people are going to use this to forward their own narratives about Zach Bryan.
So you say that now until he comes out with his next country song saying, I apologize.
Yeah, like ode to police officers.
Well, see, if his current song is I Remember Everything,
Right.
then what's his next song going to be?
Yeah.
I forgot what I said.
I forgot. Anyways,
Anyways, yeah.
speaking of country music,
Yep, this rolls right into our second story and bigger story of country music biggest weekend. Sorry, second biggest weekend out. Sorry, biggest weekend outside of Nashville. Let's put it
okay,
that
there we
way.
go. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's probably more accurate. With Stagecoach lineup officially getting announced.
Yes.
So for the 2024 Stagecoach Festival lineup, which will take place in Indio, California, it's been announced. And for the first time headliner, we have Morgan Wallen joining Eric Church and Miranda Lambert, who are both making their returns on the April 26th and 28th dates.
Mm.
Also on this, Post Malone, who may be the most surprising name on this bill, as although his affection for country has been well known, he has not made appearances at country fests in the past. In fact, the hip hop turned pop star will be turning up on the middle night of the festival, performing what is being described as a quote special set of country covers. Also on the bill this week or this year, Willie Nelson, as we just mentioned, with his new album. He'll be the biggest veteran on the bill with his 90-year-old icon making return to Stagecoach in his long recorded absence. And I believe he'll be also appearing on his birthday, which would make it his 91st birthday at Stagecoach.
I mean, it makes sense. He'll have an album that he has new material to play from. And yeah, I don't blame him for wanting to do this at least one more time while he still can. Good for Willie. And on his birthday, no less. That's fun. As for Post Malone, I think that's interesting. I think that, like I said when we were talking about his album from this year, Austin, is that he's best when he's not doing rap or hip hop. And
Right.
so I think it'll be really interesting to see what his favorite country songs are and what he wants to cover and his influences from the country that he grew up with. Like, that's really cool. And I think that that will be a showcase of his strengths. And yes, the Morgan Wallen thing is a little disappointing. It sounds to me that Golden Voice, is that the name of
Yep. Golden
the
Voice.
organization? They're now, I guess, willing to just move past his previous public issues and just now
Yeah.
treat him
Can
like any
can
other
we,
artist.
since this is our 400th episode, can we at least go over now why we keep saying Morgan Wallen, why we don't like him?
I mean, yeah, he was just very like there were, those videos that surfaced of him using the N-word. And then after that, he kind of didn't really apologize for it. Still, he kind of was like believed he was the target of cancel culture and kind of rode that wave and brought along the people who supported him to basically propel him to number one status. And I think that, yeah, so if we're bitter, that's why.
I believe there's also the COVID incident that he
Mm-hmm.
had with SNL in October of 2020, 2021.
I was 21, I think.
21. Okay, so I think it was right after the racist comments came out.
Right.
That he was seen at a bar before going on SNL while COVID was still out, not following COVID protocols at the time,
Right.
and then SNL cut him that week because of it.
Yeah. It seems like recurring themes of this guy just doing whatever the hell he wants and not really considering the repercussions of it. But yeah, I guess it just at this point, like people have memories of goldfishes and they're just willing to just ignore it and just move on with them because of how popular he is. Though the yeah, it was nice though to see Miranda returning as a
Mm-hmm.
headliner because she deserves it.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't see the
Other
rest of this bill. Did you have any names that you wanted to point out that you were happy
Yes,
to see?
other in the country, Post Malone is going to be there in Jelly Roll,
Yeah.
being there that Friday night. Same
The,
with Rob Schneider's daughter,
oh right.
Elle King.
El King is a
And I will
country artist
always
now.
bring that up. Whenever I see Elle King, I will bring up that she's Rob Schneider's daughter. Other standouts include Dwight Yoakam, Haley Witters,
Oh, cool.
Leon Bridges. We went over Willie Nelson. Let's see here. Hardy going to be there as well. The Beach Boys on
Hmm.
Sunday, and Clint Black
Oh,
there on Sunday as well.
wow.
And for the Honky Tonk Desert Midnight Show that they're going to
Uh,
do, we have special guests of Diplo making his return again,
all right.
Wiz Khalifa stumbling around somehow. I think he's in the wrong weekend.
Someone told
But
him
then
that there was weed and then he wanted to show up.
no, well, he might be confused, but they have to pull the weeds from the previous week. But also Nickelback will be there at Stagecoach.
They were also just recently part of the Toronto Film Festival. I don't know if you
Yep.
saw this.
Yeah.
I don't know anymore. All bets are off with Nickelback. So yeah, overall, do you think this is a strong lineup? Are you excited for this? I mean, I'm assuming you will not be attending for the first time in years.
I will not be attending Sunday, that's for sure.
At least, yes.
At least. Whether going the other 2 days is still up in the air.
Right.
Did not buy the tickets because we wanted to
No.
wait to see what the lineup was. I
Mm-hmm.
did not buy the pre-sale. Now that we have it, still kind of up in the air of whether or not we'll actually go. I think we'll
Fair enough.
at least go out to the desert for it, but whether we'll actually go to Stagecoach this year,
Yeah.
still questionable.
Yes.
But
There are
hey, Guy Fieri will
factors.
still be there, so
Yeah, there are new factors to consider. So
yes, one being Morgan Wallen is a headliner.
yeah, there's that. Anyway.
Anyways, I mean, the other being that we saw Eric Church and Miranda Lambert most recently, especially after most recent albums of Eric Church being Heart, Ampersand, Soul,
Right.
and Miranda Lambert being Palomino. Although she
Right.
won't be playing at the Palomino at Stagecoach, she'll be playing on the main stage. So,
I mean, yeah.
so yeah. But both those albums liked, loved, saw
Yeah.
them in the concert because of those albums. So it does feel like we just saw them too. So it's not like, oh, we have to go to Stagecoach because they're here.
Right.
I don't know. Like I said,
Fair enough.
6 years in a row might be time to skip a year.
And you don't have to get a complete like record. This is not like you're trying to earn an achievement or a trophy. Like no one is telling you have to do this.
It sounds like a combo breaker. You have to start all over.
Your multiplier will end. You have a 6 times multiplier going.
I
Anyway.
know, except it doesn't work on discounts. Oh, that's the other thing. Stagecoach raised their prices this year. It's now, I think, $500.
Oh no. Oh no. Don't
Let me
go to
see here.
that.
Let me see here. Yeah, so pre-sale was at $400 plus fees.
Don't do
Right
that.
now, general admission is $430 plus
Nope.
fees.
Nope. 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 Not worth it.
That's without the shuttle pack. So shuttle combo currently will run you at $520 plus fees
That's
for
too
your
much.
ticket and a shuttle.
It's too much.
I think that's too much. Yeah, that's
It's
why
too
also why
much.
we kind of like maybe let's wait and see.
Maybe not. All right.
All right.
With that,
So with that out of the way, it's time to talk about next week's. Is it going to be next week? Yeah, next week's number
yeah,
one album.
should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, Guts.
Let's talk
We
about
finally got it.
Guts. We got
We
it.
finally
We
got
have
it.
it. Yes. So, Olivia Rodrigo, I believe Sour was our favorite album of 2021 here
Was
at the
that?
Media Boat Podcast.
Yes, that was 2021.
Yes. An artist that just came out of like not nowhere, but relative obscurity for someone like us who didn't watch all of High School Musical, the musical, the series.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and kind of took the world by storm. Automatically became a huge pop star. Was seen as kind of the next in like a lineage of like pop stars, including Taylor Swift and Lorde, who she's very clearly influenced by, as well as like Hayley Williams of Paramore. And yeah, Sour was a very good record that really established what Olivia could do very quickly. And it kind of gave us an idea as like, oh, she could do these ballads like Driver's License, but she can also do stuff influenced by her heroes of like rock and pop punk. Like she showed like a little bit of an edge musically that we weren't expecting from her with Sour. And yeah, songs like Good For You and Brutal kind of really showed that off. So I guess it shouldn't be that much of a surprise that her second album, Guts, is very much leaning into her strengths. Guts is largely a pop punk record with a handful of with like a few ballads sprinkled in there. And honestly, I think it's even better than Sour. I think this is a statement record. I think this is her saying, this is the artist I want to be, making the music she wants to make. And already it has made a seismic impact. Like critically, it's already become one of the like best reviewed records of the year. Like I think a lot of people are reacting like being like, hey, Olivia's here and she's not going anywhere. This is the pop star we need right now. And I'm happy for her.
You're right. Sour was our combined Media Boat podcast
Mm-hmm.
album of the year for 2021. There is a saying in Hollywood and in the music industry as well that you have your entire life to create your first piece of media. You only have 2 years to create your second
Right.
following it. And here we are, 2 years post that. And she took what she did from Sour,
Mm-hmm.
which, as we mentioned, it did feel like it was a smattering of ideas that she wanted to be of I wanted to be this, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And here's Guts, kind of more of a honed in Olivia Rodrigo saying,
Mm-hmm.
this is the stuff that I want to talk about. This is
Mm-hmm.
stuff that I want to listen to on the radio, stuff that I want to say. And you're right, it is a statement record, especially being
Mm-hmm.
a her sophomore album.
Yeah.
And I think telling it Guts is very apt, especially for the stuff that she does get into,
Yeah.
especially when you lead off with All American. Like we can say bitch, right? Yeah, we're explicit
Yeah.
here.
We can.
We can, yeah.
Yeah,
So
no, like yeah, from the top, it's already like talking about the double standards of what she's expected to be, this person that she's expected to act as, and talking about like yeah, like I'm not that person, I never will be that person. Instead, this is who I actually am. And she
and
uses
it's
the
funny
rest of the
that that
album.
goes right into a bad idea, right? Where
Right.
she literally is taking all those like bad idea thoughts and
Yeah.
putting them into songs. Like, yeah, I'm not going to be the all American girl that you think I am. I'm going to be this rough,
Yeah.
edgy, complex person with all these emotions and
And one
thoughts
of the
and
things,
feelings.
yeah, one of the things we talked about back when we talked about Sour a couple of years ago was how there's this easy tendency for people to be like, oh, well, these are teenage problems sung by a teenager, and they're not relatable. But the thing that Olivia is able to do is make these teenage situations feel universal and relatable. Because yeah, obviously the scenario in Bad Idea Right is not something necessarily all of us have experienced. I'm going to guess. That being said, that ambiguity that which she revisits later on Get Him Back, that
Yep.
ambiguity of being like, well, I still have nostalgia for this person. I still like this person. I want to hang out with them and interact with them, but I shouldn't. And I actually hate them and I want revenge. Like that duality is very relatable. And like, I feel like that's the kind of thing she's trying to do with this record, is talk about the nuance of young adulthood, the expectations, the weight on your shoulders, the feeling that you have when you're in the middle of something and it's not just black and white. Like it's not as simple as, well, I just won't talk to this person. Or, oh, like it's not just simple as like, oh, I can't, like, as I can just avoid beauty standards, pervasive beauty standards in media and in culture. No, it's not that easy. It's not just something you can turn off or turn on. There's nuance in it. There's living with it. There's living within these things. And I think one of Olivia's gifts is that she can communicate the complication of it in a relatable and fun and witty way without it feeling like it's too preachy or too like predictable or cliche. Um, and honestly, doing it in a way that doesn't feel derivative of artists that preceded her. I wrote up a thoughts post on mediaboatpodcast.com if any of you guys want to check that out. And one of the things I talked about in that piece was how I've seen a lot of reviews talk about like, oh, well, we're going to compare her to these specific people. Like Taylor Swift is the easy comparison
Mm-hmm.
because of how much of Sour was indebted to Taylor Swift. Here, she's dropped the Taylor comparisons pretty much entirely. I think there was a cognizant effort from her and her team to make this album feel like Olivia and not have those comparisons come easily. And I think she
It's
succeeded.
it's funny you bring that up because while I was listening to this, I did get the Taylor comparison, but not in the audio that you think it
Right.
was, more in the writing and in the lyrics that these are songs written by Olivia Rodrigo because these are lived experiences, which
Mm.
is where Taylor shines because her songs are lived experiences.
Yeah. But I think we're finally getting to that point. And this happens with a lot of artists where she's able to break off from those comparisons and just make music that sounds like her. And I think we're
Mm-hmm.
here. I think Sour, you did have more comparison points. Here, they're harder to make. Like I saw one person make the argument, like, "Oh, is Guts her melodrama?" And I'm like, no, because melodrama was Lord's record, and it's very much something only Lord could have made. And I think Guts is the same thing for Olivia. This is something that comes from her 100%, is wholly original, and she does a good job of avoiding things that could have made it easy to compare her to other people. And yeah, I think it's extremely strong. One thing though I wanted to add to this conversation though is the question of, do you think it'll be as successful? Because the risk that you take, I think, with making something more specific is that maybe it's not the big chart juggernaut that Sour was. Like a lot of people brought up how Vampire, the lead single, was only number one for a week and then really took a tumble. Do you think that beyond a number one album next week, does she have staying power in the Hot 100? I don't know.
That is a good question because a lot of these don't feel like singles, and I think that's why we like the album because it's an album. We
Yeah.
like the album. We like it front to back. It tells a story. It tells growth, change, loss, love, all that fun stuff that we like in a full album. So in terms of an album, it's a complete full album that we like to look for. But
Yeah.
you're right. In terms of like singles and what's going to play on the radio, I don't know where it kind of hits.
There's one I can think of. I think Get Him Back is a single. I think Get Him
Mm-hmm.
Back could be huge. But you're right. The rest of the songs on here could be singles, maybe, but like she's doing some interesting things with them that I don't know if it plays on radio. Like I really love Ballad of a Homeschool Girl, but I don't think that's a radio single because it's too weird. And
I
I
really
think,
love The Grudge, but it's
yeah,
not a radio
it's not a radio
single.
single. I don't think the ballads hit as hard, especially with Vampire. Vampire is almost an exception because it's a ballad that's written to speed up like a pop song and it's
Mm-hmm.
transformed into something by the end of it. The rest of them don't do that. The Grudge and Logical, and even the ending track,
Teenage Dream.
Teenage Dream, are all built very like a classic ballad. They're driver's license essentially in its DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they can be hits anymore. Like I think that things have changed. And yeah, and like it does make me wonder like whether she's turning into a Billie Eilish where she pivots the career away from hits and more about, no, this is just the kind of thing I want to make. And that's not a bad thing to be, because she's still going to bring in people for like tours. She's still going to be a big presence in pop radio. But it definitely makes me wonder, like, are we just not in the place where she's going to make 3 number 1 hits like she did before? I don't know.
I don't. It's a tough act, especially to follow up with
Oh, yeah.
singles and hits when you want to create a full album. I think you're right that it does follow into that kind of like Billie Eilish and in essence kind of like a Beyonce where you, I know that's like a big stretch there, but where you want to focus on the album and not necessarily what's going to play on the radio, what's going to be a hit, what's going to be a single.
Yeah. It's a different conversation. But I'm honestly kind of excited, because that is ultimately the path. I think that maybe she's choosing that on purpose because of how she's inspired by a lot of bands that did just that.
Mm-hmm.
Paramore
I
never had like a number 1 hit. Like,
yeah,
and if that's the direction she wants to take her career, then cool.
I do see that the Grammys doubling down and awarding her stuff
Yeah.
because of it.
I could on it. Yeah, I think you're right. I think there's an opportunity here to have that flip where she becomes more of a critically appreciated artist. Um, Last thing before we move on, because we've been talking about it a lot, because the internet is the internet, there has been a minor backlash over the last couple of days, specifically, where you have a certain quotient of people. I see it amongst older Gen Z slash younger, like the youngest of the young millennials, talk about how they see her almost like as a poser, not my term, but theirs, and saying like, oh, she's just trying to be Avril Lavigne. Do you see where this is coming from? Do you agree at all? Like, what do you think that what? Why do you think this is happening? Because I think it's fascinating.
I think it's because she did lean into kind of like the bad girl image with songs like Bad Idea, right? Like Get Him Back, like The Grudge, like Pretty is a Pretty and Teenage Dream, that it's not, especially in the beginning with All American Bitch, the way it has a kind of a duality of both a simple, like lyrical, and then the hard rock edge to it that people, and especially millennials, it's easy to go with the pop punk princess of Avril Lavigne and just say, oh, slap that label over here for this generation. I
Yeah.
think it's the easy way. I think it's the cop out way, and I think it's the way the um, uncritical and kind of like the laissez of it.
Yeah, I'm mostly on the same page. I think one of the interesting things that came out of this was a conversation on Twitter amongst some people saying like, well, was it cool to like Avril Lavigne in the 2000s? Are we maybe doing some revisionist history about being like Avril being a bigger cultural impact than she was? Was that movement with her and like Ashley Simpson as big as it seemed like in retrospect? And I think that, yeah, we lived it. And I can definitely say that was definitely not the cool thing to like. There was a mainstream like opinion that what Avril was doing was not cool. There was a big pushback from like the VH1 like talking head thing about
Mm-hmm.
like to kind of trash talk what Avril was trying to do, that she wasn't punk and that she was an artifice created by the label.
It was also in back in the early 2000s, to date ourselves here,
Yeah,
more of a push of you don't want to be like Avril Lavigne, you want to be like Britney, you want to be like Christina,
right.
you want to be the the pop princess, not this punk. Nobody, like, we like listening to her music, but nobody really likes her. Nobody wants to be her
Yeah.
friend. Everyone wants to be Britney's friend, but no one wants to be Avril's friend.
But of course, the truth was more complicated, because yeah,
Mm-hmm.
because there seems to be a difference between the people who are like us that are on the periphery of it because we weren't the target audience, and the girls who were. Because if you ask the girls who were, they'll tell you like, oh well, I met friends in an online community because of Avril. I went to the concerts and like I was able to be with other girls and live in this moment. It brought me into the pop world, maybe because I was alienated by someone like Britney, where I didn't feel like that was me on the stage. And so, yeah, it's an interesting thing that is still true today. And I think this is what maybe the conversation is missing about Olivia. That's going to be Olivia for this next generation. And I think that's why this pivot is smart, because she's still operating in the pop landscape. She's still associated with the pop, like with pop people, but she's also translate like using a sound and like using influences that are from pop punk bands, from like indie rock, from things that, and incorporating that into our pop music. And I think that's going to be an awakening for a lot of people who are like, oh, pop music can be for me. It's going to open up a door. And I think it happened with Avril. It'll happen again here. People just need to, like you said, get out of this like mindset that there can only be one thing and start thinking about like, oh no, there are a lot of things happening all at once.
I
And you don't
mean,
necessarily have to join a camp. You don't have to necessarily identify yourself with one thing.
I do feel like we're missing a link between Avril and now, which is Demi Lovato, which funny enough,
A
she
little
has her
bit,
own
yeah.
album coming out next
Yeah,
week.
it's interesting that you say that because there was an effort, I think, from the Disney Channel stable in the late 2000s. Again, we were too old to really have noticed this, but with movies like Camp Rock and
Hmm.
stuff like Hannah Montana, there was an effort I think Disney was making to push things more in a rock direction. I mean, that gives you the Jonas Brothers. Of course, they
Hmm.
now have rebranded themselves as a pop band, but they were also part of that movement in the late 2000s. Like Disney was really trying to push that. And you can absolutely hear that late 2000s Disney Channel sound in Olivia's music because she was literally like 5 when she was listening to that stuff. We were 16, but she was a child. And so like I think that was like perfect for her like to grow up on that and have that part of her musical DNA, and it shows. And I think that she's able to refine that and tweak that to something that sounds contemporary and modern.
So she was like 5 years old watching High School Musical, and then
Yes.
ended up starring in High School Musical, the musical, the
Yes.
series.
It's weird to think about it. She was born in 2003. She's going to be 20 this year.
Yep.
It's we can't relate like because of like that's such a generational difference. But like I don't think that means that she's being derivative. And I think that yeah, you're right. Ultimately, we shouldn't listen to those people because they don't know what they're talking about. But anyway, it's a good
Uh,
record.
it's a good record.
Yeah.
Last thing I'll say, if you want to listen to it in a specific way, okay, so it's mainly talking about the track "Love Is Embarrassing" because I don't know if it's
uh,
just me, but when I listen to this thing or to list this song specifically, especially the lyrics, I had the idea or just kept popping in my head that this is just the description of Legally Blonde in song form.
I'll tell Christy that one. She might find that amusing. Also, though, and I didn't know if there's I thought this was the direction you were going to take for a second. The Dolby Atmos mix is awful on this thing. I just want to give a PSA out there to anybody who has AirPods. Don't bother. Just switch back to stereo. It muddles the mix so much it sounds like it's a crappy recording. Honestly, it was the first way I listened to it. And I was like, why does this sound so bad? And then I listened to the stereo mix and I was like, oh, thank God, it wasn't. It wasn't the mixing. It wasn't the mastering. Just avoid the Dolby Atmos mix on phones if you can. I'm sure the actual home theater mix is better, but don't listen to it on AirPod Pros with the Atmos on. Turn it off. Just trust me on this one. Anyway.
All right. Any last words on Guts?
No, I think we'll talk about it at the end of the year, is what I'll say.
Oh, you're just already putting it
Yeah.
there.
It's easily one of 3 top records for me this right now. Sitting in the latter period of the year now, I'm pretty comfortable saying it will be in the top 3 of my list
All right.
somewhere.
Well, then, with that done, let's move on to video games. And we start with
Yes.
new releases, including Gunbarella for the PC and the
Ella.
Switch.
Ella.
Ella, Ella. Uh, Summum Eterna for the PC, PS5, for everything. If you got it, you can play
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. If the systems look differently this way, it's because now I'm able to copy and paste it from their new Metacritic design.
Yep.
And I was like, wow, this really simplifies my process. Boom.
There's also Solar Ash for the Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and the Switch.
That is expanding. It was originally a PC and PlayStation release.
All right. Uh, there's also Mugen Souls Z for the Switch, If that looks weird, that's because that is a dragon soul, Zeke. Mugen is dragon.
Ah, okay.
We also have Mortal Kombat 1 for the PC, PS5, Switch, and Series X.
Mhm.
Uh, Coming out of the 80s, I think. Inspector Gadget, Mad Time Party for everything. You
You
got it, you
know,
can play it.
for all those kids that remember Inspector Gadget, I don't know who this is for.
Also, I don't know who this is for. Dune, Spice Wars for the PC.
You'd be surprised, actually. This is a strategy game based on Dune, and I feel like a lot of nerds are going to be very excited about this.
All that sand. We also have the Crew Motorfest for everything but the Switch.
Mhm.
There's also Baten Kaitos 1 and 2 HD remaster for the Switch.
Yes, remaster of two classic. I don't know. Depends on who you are. GameCube RPGs.
We also have Ad Infinitum for everything but the Switch. Uh, NASCAR Arcade Rush for everything. You got it. You can play it. Big game.
Mhm.
NASCAR's Arcade Rush coming out this week.
You gonna play that?
No. There's also Gloomhaven for everything but the PC.
Come on, you could play as Watermelon Guy. I guess. I don't know if that's true, actually. I'm assuming you can.
You mean Ross Chastain?
Yes.
Ross the Boss Watermelon Man
Don't you
Chastain.
don't you want to play as the Watermelon Guy?
You do the watermelon crawl and just run it
Yeah.
up against the wall. And lastly, it's here Pokemon Scarlet and Violet,
Colon.
the hidden treasure of Area Zero.
Part one.
Part one, the
Colon.
teal mask, the teal mask for the Switch. This is the DLC.
Yes, this is the part one of the DLC. Part two will be out in the winter. But yes, I'm not gonna bother. I bought the DLC for Sword and Shield, and I played those. I am not touching this because the game still runs like shit. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Isn't everyone waiting for part two, though? Isn't that the real expansion with the new gyms?
In my opinion, yes, it seems like there's more to do in part two than in one, but I'm also probably not going to buy that. So
Right, well, it's been a year since Scarlet and Violet.
it has.
Coming up on it.
And they haven't fixed it.
Not until Switch 2 comes out.
I'm still going to be bitter about it. Like, yeah, if the Switch 2 is like, oh, this is a re-release that works this time, I'm also going to be mad because I'm like, no, I want the thing that I spent $60 on to work. What a concept, right?
What a concept. All right. Let's get into video game news then. And we got some mustard to throw.
My mustard
And
ran out.
well, you gotta go get a new one.
I guess so.
Well, Epic Games is chief creative officer and subsequently one of the driving forces behind Fortnite.
Mhm.
Donald Mustard has announced that he is leaving the company. Mustard, who was also creative director on the Infinity Blade series and Shadow Complex,
Mhm.
announced the news on his social media accounts on Friday. The designer said the Fortnite team were, quote, in the best hands and working on, quote, huge, jaw dropping, amazing things. Um, Mustard went on and wrote, quote, after an incredible adventure, I'll be retiring from my role as Chief Creative Officer at Epic this month. I have enjoyed nearly 25 years in the game industry, collaborating with some of the most talented people ever, and I am so proud of what we have made together.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is an interesting one because Mustard is definitely one of those names that came up a lot over the last 25 years of gaming. He's
Mhm.
been with Epic for a while, even prior to them becoming this huge other thing after Fortnite became big. Yeah, like and so to see him go and move on is like it's always interesting to see a lifer go do something else because it's like, oh yeah, I thought he was just always going to be there. So yeah, I don't know what he's gonna do next, or just retire or whatever. But yeah, he did what he needed to do, and I'm sure he made a lot of money while he was there.
All right. Let's list off the reasons that he left. One is 25 years at the same company, and he's
Yeah,
done.
yeah,
Two, he's done working out Fortnite and doesn't want to stick doing that forever.
yeah.
Three, he tried to do something else, and Epic Games told him no.
Maybe, but probably not. I don't
Uh, Four, he finally has enough fuck you money to just
know.
fuck off.
Yeah, that's probably number one, honestly. It's like
And number five, he is going to start his own production company.
it's possible. I wouldn't rule it out. It happens a lot, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't know what you do if you're Donald Mustard, except work with somebody from Heinz, I guess. I don't know.
Go
Anyway.
buy the Pittsburgh Steelers
Yeah,
and change
exactly.
Heinz Field.
Something like that. All right. The second story is just a quickie.
Yeah, it's just a small one here, but hey, remember Roblox? I don't know if
Yeah,
you're saying you remember Roblox,
it's
but
still there. It's still around.
yeah, it's still there. It's still trying to compete with Minecraft as much as it can.
It's a
But
different thing.
Roblox, yeah, I know it's their own creator, own platform thing.
Yeah.
Roblox is finally breaking free by coming to PlayStation consoles next month.
Mhm.
The massively popular online game platform and game creation system will be released for the PS4 and PS5 in October. Roblox was originally released in the PC back in, I'm going to date myself here,
Yeah.
2006.
2006. Can you believe that?
Yes, Olivia Rodrigo was only three.
Yeah, we're just gonna refer to things in with the measurement of one Olivia Rodrigo. One Olivia Rodrigo ago, this was
And was then ported to iOS in 2012 and then in Android in 2014
yeah.
and now finally being ported in 2023.
So I included this story for two reasons because there's some interesting things happening here with Roblox. One, this is funny that this happened now because during the court proceedings in which PlayStation's Jack Ryan made some comments about the Microsoft and Activision deal, one of the things he said was that they had not asked for Roblox to be on PlayStation platforms because he was concerned about the community of Roblox. He said that he didn't feel comfortable with Roblox being such a young community and how that would affect the community like on PlayStation.
Demographics on
Yeah, like the demographic
PlayStation.
on PlayStation would be like it becomes more complicated when you're dealing with a lot of children on your platform as opposed to the slightly older demographic that PlayStation usually attracts.
Mhm.
And however, it seems like just a few weeks later, money talks, I guess, and they just made the deal anyways. The other interesting thing about it, and might complicate what I think is going to definitely complicate Jack Ryan. No, what is his name? Something Ryan. Um. Anyway, his feelings going forward about Roblox is that they're right now talking a big game about how they want it to be even more of a social platform than before. There are stories about yeah, I don't know, I can't think of his first name. But yeah, Jack Ryan. No, I keep saying Jack Ryan. It's not Jack Ryan, is it?
You keep seeing Jack Ryan.
It's not Jack Ryan. Anyways,
Jack Ryan is the
Jack Ryan's the book guy.
yes. Hold on.
Station Ryan.
Jim Ryan? Yeah,
Jim
Jim
Ryan.
Ryan.
Thank you. I had the J right. Anyways, so the other thing that's going to complicate this is that yeah, they're trying to make Roblox even more of a platform than it already is. There was talk this week about oh you're going to make a universal avatar and you're going to make a universal platform. They want to chat like in-game chat to become and expand into a full like community chat app with Roblox as its base. There's some really weird stuff that they want to do with Roblox going forward. And now Jim Ryan's going to have this problem on PlayStation too. And so it's like interesting that this is the timing that he wants to do this deal. It may not have been his decision. But it is interesting to have him make those comments and then immediately get way, way worse. And then all of a sudden they're making a deal with them.
PlayStation Home cries in the corner.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still not sure exactly why they want to do all this with Roblox, but I guess there's that many people using it every day.
Because it's going to be a Miiverse, Roblox verse, Microsoft Universal thing where it just becomes your avatar.
Well, that's the thing is that they're not owned by Microsoft, but yeah, that's basically what they want to do, kind of like the Microsoft thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's I don't know. I don't get it.
All
But it's
right.
not for us. We're not five.
No, no. We're not Robloxians.
No, we're not.
All right. But what we
Yes.
are Starfires?
Yeah.
Starfielders?
Spacefarers, astronauts, whatever
Spacefarers?
you will give. Because yes, I have been playing a crap load is the term I will use of Starfield. Um
I took a crap load once.
gross. I don't want to hear about it. Yeah, I've been playing Starfield. It's on Game Pass as of last Wednesday. It is I'll get this out ahead of time. It is a Bethesda game. And I mean that in every way. If you were expecting Starfield to be something more elaborate and more fancy and more ambitious than Fallout 4 or Skyrim, temper those expectations down because Starfield is Fallout 4 in space with some extra stuff on the periphery. So go into it knowing that, because I think what happened over the last week, couple weeks now, is people thought it was something huge, more than this, and played it and were disappointed. I went in expecting a Bethesda RPG and I got a Bethesda RPG, but that's the negative talk away because the good news is it's a really good one of those things. And I think personally, it's now easily my favorite of those Bethesda RPGs. I am having a really good time with Starfield.
The last
So,
Bethesda game I played was Fallout 4.
okay.
And I typically don't touch Bethesda games. A
Mhm.
lot of people keep telling me I should play Skyrim. I've never played Skyrim.
Wow, you might be the only person in that I know that has not played Skyrim.
I'm waiting for the achievement to unlock that says I've not played Skyrim.
Anyway, and yeah, honestly though, like if you have like a basic understanding of what these games are, you can easily jump right into Starfield. So there are things that it does do differently. One thing major is the space flight. You do occasionally fly a ship in space. It does play like a arcade style space shooter for those little bits of gameplay, and it works relatively okay. I think the space flight stuff and the combat in space is my least favorite part of the game. I actively avoid it a lot of the time because I'd rather shoot guns on land. But for the people who are into that thing, there's a lot of options there. In fact, that's the theme for this game as a whole. It's flexible in a way that if you want to play it a certain way, you absolutely can. You can lean into one method of play and completely ignore other pieces of the game. Of course, for a completionist, that's really hard to do because you're going to want to check all those check marks. But if you go into it in more of a role playing kind of mindset and you want to be this character and do what this character would do, the game does allow for that. Now, it's not as flexible as something like Baldur's Gate 3. I see a
I was
lot
gonna
of conversations happening right now about, oh, well, in Baldur's Gate 3, I can just do this. I can kill this NPC and nothing will happen. And something will happen, it'll affect my game, or I got out of this really tricky situation and didn't have to save scum. Starfield's not that flexible. So if you're going in expecting complete flexibility, you're not going to get it. You're within the limits of a Bethesda RPG. You can't kill every NPC. Sometimes you can't. Like just deal with it. But sometimes you can, and that does affect the some of the side quests that you can get from that character. There are some surprising moments of flexibility. There is something that's kind of spoilery that I will say I haven't even seen, but I've seen a lot of people talk about, which is apparently there is some sort of, and if you don't want to hear about it, let me warn you right now, but there's something I heard about. Even when you finish the game, you're not done because there's something in the story, there's some story hook that implies that there is a benefit to doing New Game Plus multiple times. And to me, that sounds awesome because that, like, makes me think it's like, oh, so I can just like I can like not think that this character's story is going to end like at a solid endpoint. There's going to be more I can do and live more in this world and kind of see the different permutations of the things I can do. There's almost a Mass Effect 2 style twist that happens in the story that actually, if you want to watch this, it's in the stream that I did because I happened to be streaming right when this thing happened, and I did not anticipate that this was going to happen. But yeah, there's some sort of choice that you have to make that determines whether some of your crew dies or lives. And I did not expecting that to happen in a game like this. So there are interesting things happening on the periphery of what's at its core still one of those Bethesda RPGs. So know what you're getting into, but still, there are going to still be surprises every once in a while that really will get you like involved in the game and like sucked into the game in ways I didn't expect.
Okay. Now, I speaking on New Game Plus, I have seen some takes that say don't do New Game Plus immediately.
Right.
Finish everything else before you do New Game Plus.
Yeah, it seems like it doesn't necessarily lock you out of much, but it does if you want to do it like in the flow that makes most sense. Yeah, that is also the feedback I've seen. I've been mostly just doing campaign stuff because I did this mostly before I knew about the New Game Plus stuff. As of yesterday, I've started going and doing some cleaning up some side stuff now that I have some time. So I'm doing a lot of faction missions right now. If you played a Bethesda RPG, you know what this is. You can basically align yourself with one of the different factions of the world and just do some quests. So in Starfield's version of this is like you can be a space marine and join the Marines. You could be a space cop and join the Rangers, or you can be a space pirate and do piracy stuff. Like there's the game gives you a lot of like different options, and you can do all of them. You don't have to pick just one. Your reputation, of course, will be more complicated, say, if you wrong one group and favor another. But yeah, it like gives you the option to do all of that if you really want to. I think the ultimate way I can recommend this game is with my own personal experience with it. When I started, I am not somebody who like role plays a lot in games. I'm somebody who likes a tailored experience. I'm somebody who usually likes a narrative that's given to me. I like, for example, the Uncharted series a lot because it's very much you follow a story. You're not making a whole lot of decisions, but you're basically doing a cinematic adventure the way you want. And I even played Fallout 3 and Skyrim largely that way. Like I didn't like do a whole lot of role play choices. I was mostly just playing as myself and just trying to do everything as a checkbox. Here I've kind of almost stumbled into a role playing kind of mode. I started my character thinking like, oh, I'm gonna give her this background and be like, oh, she was born in like space Vegas and she's kind of a street rat and she's kind of a shoot first, ask questions later kind of mercenary. She's wanted by like the Federation for question mark crimes, and I thought I was gonna go in and play her as like kind of like this badass. That didn't end up happening, and it's
Hmm.
because one of the things that happened was like I got to to these crew members, and I started traveling with this one crew member who she also kind of has a checkered past. Her whole setup is that she is a member of this like space religion that worships a giant serpent, and so his history and past is like secretive. She doesn't really talk about her past, and so I'm like, okay, what's up with her? So I want to travel with her, so see if I could learn more about that. What ended up happening though is I found myself almost like found myself kind of being rude, and she would call me out immediately. She'd be like, "Why'd you say that to that person? That wasn't very nice." And I'm like, "Okay, miss, like criminal history. I also have a criminal history. Why are you calling me out for my like me being kind of rude?" And I was like, "All right, so I guess when I'm around her, I have to like do these certain things." So already I found myself being like, "Oh, I'm tailoring my gameplay now because I want to impress this digital person. What's happening?" And now it's completely I had a moment, a really dramatic moment. And this, like I said, I think that this is the way I think that this game should be sold, which is talk about the lived experiences that you can have with this game. So there was a mission that I took on that like involved I was kind of in a club, and I had to escape with this. I was basically making a deal. I was brokering a deal with somebody to give me one of these artifacts that we're tracking. But we had to go into basically like the suite in this club and like have a one-on-one negotiation. Of course, the negotiation guy wants to leave. I've talked to security though, and I shut the door behind him. And so he can't escape. So of course he freaks out. And ultimately we get the artifact, right? Open the door to find out security is onto us. They're like, oh, actually, this thing, the artifact is actually a property of this other guy, and he's impounded your ship. You can't leave. So I try to do a persuasion check. I try to be like, well, I can convince you not to attack us and let us leave with the artifact. Persuasion fails. The only option I have is to pull out my gun. Like attack is the only thing I can do. I'm like, well, shit. I guess I have to shoot these guys. But me shooting the security guards made chaos in the club. And because it's like Space Vegas, all the citizens on the dance floor are armed. They all start taking out their guns and start shooting me. And I'm like, oh shit. And so I'm at this moment where I have to consider, wait, they're shooting at me, right? I should be okay to kill them, right? But then I'm like, but they're technically innocent. They have nothing to do with this deal that just went bad. So what do I do? So I try to escape and I start but I'm like getting shot by a guy. So I shoot him back. I kill him. Partner does not like that. I get a huge thing saying, so and so does it dislike this. So and so is angry at you. And I'm like, oh no, I had this genuine pang of guilt that I made her mad at me. Worst thing, I travel back to the ship, right? And I notice I'm running to my ship trying to escape this planet while all these people are shooting on the club floor. And I notice she's not following me anymore. I'm like, whoa, she's so mad she's staying. Like, I hope she's okay. And so the whole like I fast travel back to like the main meeting place, and she's not there at first. So I think one of two things has happened. Either she stayed on the planet because she's pissed at me and I'll never see her again, or worse, she died. Like I was like, oh, maybe she died. Maybe somebody shot her. And so I'm freaking out. And then so we have a little cutscene. And this whole time I'm like actually feeling real world like guilt and shame for the decisions I had made. And then I see her outside after the cutscene's over and she walks in. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Okay, so I know she's still alive. Will she talk to me? I go up to her and she tells me how pissed she is. It's like, I can't believe you would do that. Kill an innocent person. Like, I can't believe you did that. Thankfully, there's a persuasion check I can do with her. And I pass it. I genuinely think that if I did not pass that, she would have left and I would not have been able to travel with her anymore. But thankfully, I salvaged the relationship. And so what
Your
I
digital
noticed,
relationship.
yeah. And so what I noticed is that, yeah, I literally I felt like for the first time ever, I was actually role playing in this game. Like I had felt like I was actually making decisions like the character I was playing. And so my new narrative is, yes, she had this checkered past or something, but her friendship with this other girl has made her realize, oh, I can rebuild myself. I can be a better person. So what I did now is I used a in-character reason. Well, maybe I should join like the Space Rangers and try to do some good. And so I did. And so right now I'm in the faction quest line for the Rangers, trying to like regain my my crew members' confidence in me and kind of rewrite my past. There was another quest I literally told the guy no because he wanted me to sell drugs for him. And I told him no. It was like, because I was like, in that moment I thought about it. I was like, no, that's not the character she is anymore. She wouldn't agree to do this again. She'd be falling into the same crew that she used to be in, and I don't want to do that anymore. And so yeah, it's like this game is like completely absorbed me. Like I'm 100% in. Yes, there are issues. There are bugs. I've encountered some weird stuff, but it's a Bethesda game. Yes, it hard crashed on me once, but only once so far. And that's pretty impressive considering I've played over 10 hours of it now. So I'm really having a good time with it. I wholeheartedly recommend it if you've ever liked a Bethesda RPG before. I don't know if you're going to have moments like that, but just the fact that you could have moments like that with this game is enough for me to recommend it. So yeah, I'm all fully on board.
Now, is your like or hatred of a Bethesda game going to mainly temper your expectation? Because, like you said, you technically didn't buy this. I mean,
Yeah, Game Pass.
it's Game Pass. For someone who doesn't have Game Pass, is it
Uh,
$60, $70?
Yeah, I think that it's fully based on whether you like the kind of game that they make. If you like Fallout, if you like Skyrim, I think there's enough here that's similar enough to those games, and it also does some new things that I think it's a worthwhile experience and absolutely worth the money. Like Link alone, there's so much to do in this game and so much customization. Like I even touched on like ship customization and the skill tree and the different ways you can like customize your experience with it. There's so much happening here. And yeah, so like I recommend it. But if you're somebody who did not have a good experience with Fallout or Skyrim, and if you just want more freedom like a Baldur's Gate, like you're worried that it won't let you play the game that you want, yeah, it's not going to be for everybody. So just know that going in, like that it's not going to be this dream game. It's not No Man's Sky either. It's not, I'm going to leave this planet, I'm going to fly to the new planet. You can do that, but it's going to take you like 5 hours. This game is a lot of menus, it's a lot of fast travel. It's not really about exploring space. It's about having a story told in space. And that is a difference. So, but I still recommend it.
All right. So that's a me about recommend then.
Oh yeah.
I don't have a whole lot of time to play anything currently, so which means it's a good time to jump back into Rogue Legacy 2, because hey,
Yeah.
those runs take 10 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much. It's the
But I
perfect
still
flight
suck at roguelike
size.
games, so
All right.
it's
Well,
it's fine.
with that, then I guess we can move on to a second half of the show where we always start television with the sports corner.
Oh, what a sports weekend it was.
Oh, what a sports weekend it was. The US Open is concluding.
It
No,
did
concluded.
conclude.
Coco Gauff was your big winner, defeating Arina Sablenica for the first major title. And yeah, kind of really puts Coco Gauff on the map. How much
I mean, she
My Hero
already kind of
Academia is
was.
she? What?
She already kind of was.
Yeah, I mean, this just solidifies it. But
Yes.
of course, how much My Hero Academia is she watching now in response? Did you see that? Someone
No.
asked her what she's gonna do, like to prep for her match before this final happened, and she said she was gonna go home and watch My Hero Academia. Like, man, this is
Wait, is
the
that why that
view.
was trending on
That's why
Saturday?
that was
Friday?
trending on Saturday. So now we know who the kind of person she is.
So that's why that
Yeah.
blames that. Okay. No, yeah, because they won on because she won on Saturday. Um, she is now currently the number 3 ranked tennis female star in the world. Arna Sabalenka, who was number 2 and lost because she made it to the finals, is now your new number 1 world ranked tennis player. So hey, even though she lost, she still ended up winning with number 1. And
Yeah.
congratulations to Gogo Goff, the second youngest person to ever win the U.S. Open.
Wow.
Only second to Serena Williams, who won it a year earlier. Well, not like a year earlier, but she won it at 19. Coco is 20.
Okay.
So can't really go out in New York and celebrate the way you think, but hey, congratulations
Yeah,
to the
but I'm sure she's
Williams.
having fun in other ways. But
Yes,
yeah, so
anime fans,
yeah.
Coco Gauff.
So congratulations to her. Meanwhile, Djokovic beat Medvedev.
Medvedev.
Ugh,
Medvedev.
Medvedev. But of course.
Well, yeah, that's because Medvedev beat the number 1 ranked player in Alcaraz
Mhm.
in the semis. Otherwise, it would have had a number 1 versus number 2. But instead, we got number 2 versus number 3. So, congratulations. I think this is Djokovic's 24th major title.
Okay. All right, cool. Let's
And
move
we don't have to
on.
talk about tennis until Wimbledon. Wait, no,
There
no,
you
no,
go.
not until Wimbledon. Wimbledon's in the spring. Until I think the Australia Open in January. I think we're
Okay.
done with tennis, actually.
All right. All right. Moving on, another bits in the sports world. We take it to the MLB, where we have a new clear home run leader. Matt Olson hit his 50th this week, um, leaving poor Otani, who is now day to day on his injury, out of the dust. So I guess
Well,
that
Hiro Tani's also day to day on his status as an angel.
Yeah, that's also the case. So yeah, I guess congratulations to Matt Olson, although I'm still bitter back when he was in Oakland A. And then of course the Atlanta Braves are still one of the best teams of baseball. They have clinched their playoff spot already.
They are the first team to
Yes.
make that clinch.
So
Congratulations.
we will see a lot of them in October. Next up, we talk about the FIBA World Cup.
This is the
What's the
basketball.
FI?
This is the
I
basketball World
see.
Cup.
World Cup of Basketball, where Germany beat Serbia 83 to 77. By the way, the US, well, fourth place. We lost to Canada. But however, LeBron and Steph Curry are eyeing the 2024 Paris Olympic Games for their redemption, as that they have been announced to be members of that upcoming team.
Yes, we're still a year, actually under a year away from those Paris Olympic Games. And they were, among other NBA superstars, pissed that USA did not win the FIBA World Cup. And in fact, didn't even medal. This is They didn't even medal last time the FIBA World Cup took place either. This is 2 years in a row that the USA failed at the FIBA World Cup, and NBA superstars are like, "Oh hell no, we need to establish dominance yet again."
Yeah.
So they're going to do it at the Paris Olympics before it comes to LA in 2028.
I think it's interesting that we have this story so soon after the women's team loss in soccer, because
Mm-hmm.
it does make you think like, oh, it's not just soccer. The world is getting better at all the sports we used to dominate in. Like it's becoming a more even playing field, literally, in all sports, which is interesting to see.
I mean, that's been the case over the last couple of years, especially when you see drafts in these other sports where players in those first rounds are not US born players, they're not college players, they're
Right.
international players, players who have played on German teams, on Serbian teams, even I think Italian teams. The number one player in the world right now, I think, was from a team in France.
Yeah.
The new kid down in San Antonio who's played in France before he's playing in the NBA here. We should ask Britney Spears what his name is. I think she got it right.
Yeah, she knows. Anyway, so yeah. So keep your eyes peeled for global basketball moving forward. It might not just be as easy as it used to be. The dream team is definitely something that we can probably never replicate again.
Well, we had the Dream Team and we
Yeah.
had the Redeem Team.
Yeah. Yes.
So
What is
that was
this?
in 2008.
Yeah.
So what is this? The Established Dominance Team?
Yes, established dominance team. Anyway. What else do we got going on?
Week 1 in the NFL is
Yep.
complete.
Oh, we need to talk about the big thing that happened in week 1 of the NFL. That's everybody can't shut up about this week.
Yes, the Detroit Lions did end up being Patrick Mahomes in week 1.
There
So
was that.
congratulations.
There was also a couple of
Jared
other
Goff
things.
is undefeated against
Mm,
Patrick Mahomes.
no, yeah,
He is
that's
his
true.
daddy.
There are a couple of other things though that we should talk about with football.
Oh, yes, the Rams, who everyone thought would lose, ended up winning.
No, that's not it.
You're right. Okay, so Sunday Night Football, the Dallas Cowboys put an absolute trouncing on the New York Football Giants, 40-0.
Still not that. Still not what I'm referring to.
Joe Burrow did not throw for the first time 100 yards in his career after signing the massive contract of $275 million, making him the highest paid quarterback.
No, I'm going to say something I haven't said since 2008. We need to talk about the New York Jets.
Well, they're not the ones who butt fumbled last night.
No. Anyways, yes, the Jets are in the news.
Yes. And um, so we saw the Jets in
Mm-hmm.
Hard Knocks.
Yes.
And one of the last episodes of Hard Knocks, they signed an undrafted free agent,
Yes, they did.
uh, Xavier Gibson. Well, Xavier Gibson in week 1 of the NFL made a statement saying, "You all should have drafted me," as he ran back the punt return for a touchdown, sealing the game in overtime for the Jets against the Buffalo Bills.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want to talk about, right?
Well, there's a reason why that happened.
Oh yeah, because one Aaron Rodgers decided to go on another darkness retreat.
This time, way more painful than the last.
Yes. Aaron Rodgers and J.K. Dobbins, both this past week, suffered Achilles ruptures. They broke, they're ruptured, they're gone. Well, they're not gone, but they snapped. They're both their Achilles injured, done for the rest of the season. So now Aaron Rodgers becomes a $75 million quarterback coach to Zach Wilson.
Yeah, it's just he's done, right?
He's done for the year.
Yeah, but like I mean, he's done, right?
I mean, considering he was contemplating retirement at the
Mhm.
beginning of this year and like all through preseason and end of last season, that yeah, he suffered his torn Achilles.
Mhm.
Four offensive snaps for the Jets into the game.
Yeah.
His stat line is 0 for 1 for
So
zero
yeah,
yards and four
his
snaps.
his career as a Jet is likely going to be summed up what portion of a game, like one, like not even 1/8 of a game, like
Not even one offensive series.
like it's really ridiculous when you think about it, that like we went through all of this shit to have him not even be able to complete a game.
I mean, it's not his fault. I don't know if it is his fault or not.
I don't know.
Standing on shaky ground there.
Yeah.
It's not his fault that he got injured. If anything, I blame his age.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is officially done for as a New York Jet in the quarterbacks. But this does mean, however, that because Aaron Rodgers was not the starting quarterback for at least 10 games, all the picks that the Packers traded that were conditional on them now revert back to them, which means they get first round picks again.
Okay. Interesting.
So that was part of those conditionals. Like you get Aaron Rodgers and conditional first and second round picks if he starts for at least 10 games.
Okay. So that
Lo and
didn't happen.
behold, did
Yeah.
happen. So conditional picks revert back.
All right.
I assume
Okay.
that's what you're talking about then,
Yes,
right?
that's what I was talking about. I was getting at the Aaron Rodgers stuff because that kind of was like dominating today. But yeah,
Yes.
now we can move off of football. Anything else in sports we need to talk about before we move on?
Well, yes, this past weekend, college football continued its established dominance with Colorado. Congratulations. Also, Alabama, dominant program at Alabama, lost to Texas
Oof.
on ESPN. Although, if you didn't have ESPN, you would have known that happened.
Right, that's true. So
And Aaron Rodgers being injured, he also might have not known that would have happened had they not made a deal
yeah.
Monday morning.
Yes, and that brings us into our first story in television. Yes, an update about last week's discussion about how Disney and Spectrum had parted ways over a contract dispute. Well, it didn't take very long, a little longer than normal, but still not that long in the grand scheme of things.
Oh,
The
don't
Walt
worry.
Disney,
Well,
yep,
that yesterday morning, I got a lot of phone calls
yep,
saying, "Yep, called it. I
yep,
knew this thing would be solved by
yep.
Monday Night Football."
Well, here's what happened. The Walt Disney Company and Charter Communications announced a multi-year distribution agreement. As part of the deal, the majority of Disney's networks and stations will be immediately restored to Spectrum's video customers, while others will be leaving the platform altogether. In the coming months, the Disney Plus basic ad-supported offering will be provided to customers who purchase the Spectrum TV Select package, which is a nice little freebie to toss in there.
Yes, but that is
ES-
the ad-supported package.
yes. ESPN Plus will be provided to Spectrum TV Select Plus subscribers. The ESPN flagship direct-to-consumer service will be made available to Spectrum TV Select subscribers when it launches. Charter will maintain flexibility to offer a range of video packages at varying price points based on different customer viewing preferences. They will also offer Disney's direct-to-consumer services to all its customers. These include Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN Plus, as well as the Disney bundle. So if you don't really know what that means, it's not a big deal. It just means that they're following suit with other companies like Comcast have already started doing, which is
Mm-hmm.
basically like through their own system, you can sign up for Disney Plus. That's all this means.
Yes.
And
It's not that it becomes part of your TV package.
no.
It's you can sign up for their current
Yeah.
price point through Spectrum and have it added to your Spectrum bill.
So yeah, and that'll just lump it up, lump in the payments, and it also will um, give you basically access to it within the Spectrum app you're already using, as opposed to a separate situation. Effective immediately, channel wise, Spectrum will continue to carry the ABC owned television stations, Disney Channel, FX, and the Nat Geo channel, in addition to the full suite of ESPN networks. However, networks that will no longer be included in Spectrum TV packages are Baby TV, Disney
Oof.
Junior,
Oof.
Disney XD,
Oh.
Freeform,
Ooh.
FXM,
No.
FXX,
Oh.
Nat Geo Wild, and Nat Geo Mundo. The
Yeah.
big hits here are Disney XD, Freeform, and FXX.
Yep.
Not thrilled because that's like 4 of my TV choice package right now. They're just eliminated.
Yep.
However, I did get an email from Spectrum saying that they're going to give me some money back for this past bill. I'm like, great, like $5. Like, what could that
Oh no, I
possibly
got
be?
that. I got the text message too saying
Yeah.
we will add a credit to your bill.
Like, of what?
But tell me how much a
Like
credit?
literal dollars? Like, don't bother. Like, I guess it's a burrito, maybe. But yeah, so I don't know. This still makes me pretty confident that I will be canceling my TV service through
Mm-hmm.
them because yeah, it's just I kind of sign up for this so I could get some of those channels. Now they're just not even going to be on the service anymore. It's pretty brutal, but they do what they got to do, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that's also why we were hedging and looking into getting out of Spectrum because of this, and like thank God they figured it out come Monday.
Yeah,
But overall, I don't know if this is actually a win-win here.
no, it's not.
Spectrum gets out of the Disney bundle of channels, saying you no longer need to be bundled to Nat Geo, Freeform, Junior, XD, all that stuff if you want ESPN. But at the same time, now Disney is forcing Spectrum to sell Disney Plus and Hulu bundles with them, which I
Yeah,
did notice, by the way. After like this all got resolved and we turned on ESPN, every time they went to a commercial break, one of the first 2 ads was Hulu Plus Live Sports. And they're trying to add heavily to get Hulu Plus Live TV and the
yeah.
Disney bundle.
You're gonna see that a lot, I'm sure. They're gonna really want to push their inside thing. Although,
Yep.
speaking of Hulu, one thing we're not talking about this week is the rumors that Disney is still looking to sell off Hulu. They're really heating up. We'll, of course, address that when it actually, if and when it actually happens. But for now, it is interesting to see those things happen in parallel. Is Disney wants to push this thing while they still own it. However, who knows how long that's going to be? We'll see.
I mean, that's because Disney wants to like make it into a one app experience.
Right. Just want to simplify it.
Right. I mean, that's also why that line is in here of ESPN flagship direct to consumer service
Right.
is that eventually ESPN Plus, I assume, is going to become ESPN Bet, and
Yeah.
it's going to be something separate from
Uh-huh.
ESPN direct to consumers.
That's my guess too. All right. Let's move on. And to our second story, which is actually a lot of stories because we got some bits for the bits, except they're bad. They're all
The
bad.
bad bits,
They're all
bad
bad.
bits,
All these
bad
bits are bad.
bits. Wah, wah,
So
wah.
there's a lot of them, and I'll try to zoom through these because we're running out of time. Let's talk about number one here, which, yes, the big story in the town this week was about a little guy named Jimmy Fallon. Following an
James Fallon.
Yes, James Fallon. Following an investigation into the workplace environment at The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, the talk show host himself and showrunner Chris Miller, not that Chris Miller, addressed their employees in a Zoom call on Thursday evening. The investigation spoke with 2 current and 14 former staffers who said that Fallon's erratic behavior and the show's ever-changing leadership teams of 9 showrunners since 2014, yes, that's one showrunner per year that the show's been on the air,
Mm-hmm.
had fostered an unhealthy work environment. Some employees say their mental health was impacted by their alleged experiences, and many employees say they made complaints to HR. So I read this whole Rolling Stone piece, and yeah, it does not paint a good story. It had a lot of flashes of the Ellen stories from the previous years that have come out, except worse, implying that there still might be potential substance abuse issues that Jimmy Fallon may be dealing with that may be contributing to this.
Yeah, I mean, I also read this piece, and you're right. It did feel that kind of same feeling as the Ellen piece months ago.
Years ago.
But yeah, fostering a toxic work environment. Yeah, 9 showrunners in 9 years
Yeah.
leads to both a lack of consistency,
Mm-hmm.
also fosters a lack of trust in the Tonight Show. In saying, "Oh, if Jimmy Fallon doesn't like you, you're just going to get the boot,"
It's
because he's the one
also,
who's
yeah.
been consistent over those 9 years,
Mm-hmm.
not the showrunners.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I think the Jimmy's butt is saved by the strike right now, because if there was
Mm-hmm.
not a strike, this came out during the taping of his show, he would have had to address it on the show itself. It could have potentially led to a stoppage. It could have potentially led to maybe like network drama about like, do we replace him? Do we do something about this? What do we do? But because the show's not even on the air right now, it may have the after effect of maybe by the time it does return, maybe they're hoping this blows over. Maybe they hope the narrative changes, and they don't have to deal with this when they're back on in the air.
Now Jimmy Fallon has to address it on his podcast.
Yes, that's the other part of this. It's very funny. I bet all the other guys are now going, oh boy, glad we started this podcast with Jimmy Fallon.
Oh man, glad we made Jimmy Fallon the host of this thing, and we're just
Oh,
guests on this. Ooh.
oh boy. Oh no. Yeah, I don't want to be Seth Meyers right now, is what I'm saying. But yeah, it's bad look, and I do hope they reconsider Jimmy Fallon's role there, because yeah, it seems like a really bad thing to have as your flagship show. It's not good.
Well, we all know late night TV is dying. What if it's Jimmy Fallon who puts it in the ground?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. All right, speaking of talk shows, but this time in the daytime, Drew Barrymore is also being criticized this week, this time by fellow actors and writers on social media, for her decision to bring back her daytime talk show amid the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strikes. While Barrymore is not violating SAG-AFTRA rules as the host of the show, it does allow talk shows. Her show does employ WGA writers. This means new episodes of The Drew Barrymore Show will have to utilize either violating WGA members, non WGA writers, or no one at all. The Drew Barrymore Show right now is set to return September 18th. So, two things. Yeah, one, I think it's fair to be like, what the hell? Like, you are just going to do this. What are you going to do to fill the time? Like, are you just going to have interviews? Like, are you just going to bring people on? What are they going to talk about? Because if they're actors, they
They
can't talk
can't
about their
promote
thing.
anything. Yeah.
So are you going to talk to authors? Like, are you going to talk to like, what are you going to do? And the second thing is, if you are going to write bits, are you writing them? Like, are like who's writing them? Are scabs writing them? Like, are you improvising everything? And if you are, that sounds like terrible television.
It sounds like a lot of cold opens of Drew Barrymore going into the audience saying, "Hello, who are you? Where are you from?
Right.
Do you know I'm Drew Barrymore?
It's a weird
What do you
choice,
like in me?"
especially, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't see Kelly Clarkson doing this. Like, you don't see a lot of her contemporaries doing this. It's weird that she feels like she needs to do something. It's like I just picture her like sitting on her hands being antsy and be like, I have to do a show. I have to do a show. Why? You're Drew Barrymore. Just enjoy. I don't
I
know.
mean, like you mentioned, she can't have actors or writers or anyone
Yeah.
on to promote their stuff because that's breaking SAG after WGA rules.
Yeah.
I guess lots of chefs, lots of cooking stuff. Bring on the animals.
I guess so. What's Jack Hanna's people up to? Anyway. But yeah, I don't know what you do. I honestly don't know what you do if you're Drew Barrymore. I mean, the answer is not do your show, but that's apparently out of the question.
Or
Oh
she
well.
has to do the show.
I don't know. I don't get it.
Okay, but on the silver lining of it, though, at least it employs people, below the line people,
Yeah,
behind the scenes people,
that's true.
sets, designs, wardrobe,
Crew.
makeup,
Yeah.
crew. Yes.
that is a good thing. Like at least some of the people who have been jobless in LA will now have their jobs back. I'm assuming this is an LA based show.
It is an LA based
Okay.
show, yes.
All right. Anyway, speaking of things not happening anymore, Warner Brothers Television has moved on to suspend some remaining overall deals with some of its top creators. This list includes Greg Berlanti Productions, which we talked about earlier in the year about their
Mhm.
deal changing. Bill Lawrence's Doozer Productions, which brought us Ted Lasso, and Mindy Kaling's Kaling International, which gave us shows like Never Have I Ever. J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot is also in the process of being notified, while John Wells' Productions Pact was suspended in June, and Chuck Lorre producer's deal was suspended in the first wave back in May. So Warner Brothers is just cleaning up loose ends, being like, all right, well, you guys can't do anything. There's no movement to be had on these deals right now, anyways. So we're just going to cut this now. Like, just terminate it. We'll renegotiate after all this business is over.
I wonder how much of this is them just cleaning house and going through contracts that
Yeah.
they have with these production companies and saying, well, looks like you didn't make a production or a show in 2 months or 3 months. You just violated your contract. I have plans to end this now.
Yeah. And it doesn't use language like violations. So it makes me just think it's like, it's less about that and just more about like, we just don't need to have this on file with you guys if you can't do business with us. Like if there's nothing happening, there's no business to be had.
Right. But it does, I mean, that's the rosy press
Mm,
release that they make. But behind the scenes, because this is Warner Brothers Television, it is very easy to just assume, well, we're not going to keep paying these production companies because they're not making stuff. So we're just going to cut these ties and cut these
yeah.
ties and cut these ties. And we'll renegotiate your deals once you're able to actually make something for us.
Yeah. So I don't know. It doesn't really have much effect on now, but it will be interesting to see if these deals do get renegotiated after the strikes are over, or if some of these creators jump ship. Because I would
That's
not
where
be
I was going here.
surprised. I would not be surprised if you see someone like Chuck Lorre or someone like Bill Lawrence, especially, going somewhere else, maybe where they could get a more lucrative deal.
Just going straight to Apple.
Mm-hmm. I wonder, yeah, if you just make a direct deal with Apple instead of dealing with Warner as an intermediary, like, might be smart for him.
I wonder if this is Christopher Nolan just walking around with a big sign saying, I told you so.
Yeah.
This is why I
Yep.
left.
This
I
is
would
what.
come to Universal. They'll
Yeah.
treat you right.
How really didn't know when Nolan was making such a big stink about it. Like, oh wow, he was right. They are a terrible company to deal with. Oh well.
Well, I mean,
And
more
we
so now because of Zaslav, but yeah.
100 years of bullshit, I guess. Let's move on. We'll have more 100 years of bullshit later for a different company that's enjoying 100 years. But first, lastly, in the bits here, the Writers Guild of America has opened investigations on both coasts into complaints by members of delayed and smaller than usual residual checks. In terms of where scribes were reporting lighter payouts or delayed checks, shows from NBC Universal, CBS Studios, and HBO were mentioned the most. And you wonder why these people are striking. Makes
Yes,
you
one of the
think.
big reasons that they are striking is due to residual checks, trying to update residual payments of how they get their money and the size and consistency,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a lot harder to, since residual checks are paid quarterly, it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot harder to say, hey, where's that check I had from 3 months ago that I'm sure I cashed? How does it
Yeah.
compare to this check? Whereas you can just look online in a direct deposit and say, hey, these numbers don't match up. These numbers don't add up. One of these things is not like the other.
I mean, there was one picture that went viral. I forget who posted it of a 0.0 no cents like check, a check literally with zero money that was sent to somebody for a residual payment. It's like, oh, so these things are just like automated too. Like they just automatically send them out even if there's nothing to pay out.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's bizarre. Like none of it makes sense.
Yeah,
So,
one of the many reasons why they are continuing to strike.
yeah. So let's hold on that strike news. We'll revisit it in just a moment. But first, let's wrap up TV with some thoughts. I would love to talk about the after party finale right now. However, I cannot. I did not watch it.
Oh no, you've had a whole week to watch it.
So sorry, we got to punt that conversation to next week.
Okay,
So
that's okay. Um,
save this
I
time.
will say that My original prediction was wrong.
Oh, okay.
I'm kind of happy that it's wrong, but at the same time, the actual ending explains a lot of the reasons why they made the choices they did this
Okay,
season.
good. All right. Interesting. I
So,
look forward to having that wrapped up.
yep, we'll wrap that up next
Excellent.
week then.
Then any other TV to talk about before we move on?
I have got us hooked on a new and old TV show because it is easy to put on, it is dumb to put on, and I don't
Okay.
need to pay attention to it.
We have one of those going right now as well. What's yours?
Great American Food Truck Race.
Oh, hell yes. I love the food truck race.
It's dumb. They fight, they bicker, they crash these giant vehicles, moving kitchens into other vehicles and have to
Mm-hmm.
pay out. It's both hilarious because they're under the gun with all the cameras, and at the same time, everyone clashes everywhere. And it's interesting to see all the different strategies. And it's fun, dumb TV to where we just put it on and be like, oh, yeah, look, they're already at the end of the episode because it's 40 minutes and I don't have to sit through commercials.
Yeah, it helps, turns out.
And since each
Um,
season is only 8 episodes,
mhm.
run through them so
Run through them
quickly.
quickly. Yeah, Christy and I's version of that right now. We are going through from the top all of Project Runway.
Oh,
We went through seasons 1 and 2 already. We're in season 3. I have not seen it because I didn't watch it back then. I picked up around 2010. So like it's one season that she's seen that I haven't. So it's this fun dynamic where she's like, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that guy," or "Oh, I remember when this happened," or as we go through the iconic moments of the first few
have
seasons.
you gone to Andre yet?
Yes, we got to Andre. We we
Andre.
we went through Andre in season 2. No, we still don't know to this day if Tim Gunn ever went to Red Lobster with Andre. Who knows? All right. Enough about that literal 20-year-old television. Let's move on
It
to
is funny.
cancellations and
It is
renewals.
fun to be
Oh,
able to like just binge all these
yeah,
TV shows and
it's all on
look back.
Peacock. If you're wondering, it's all on Peacock
You got
now.
yours on
So
Peacock? Yeah.
yeah. All right, let's talk about cancellations and renewals real
All
quick.
right. What am I no longer watching?
You're no longer watching Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel, an old favorite of yours. I know it
Yes.
is. It was canceled after 29 seasons on HBO.
This current season that it's in will be its last, which means its December wrap up show will be its finale.
But yeah, it
And
was on for a
sucks,
long
did
time.
not get to 30 seasons.
No, didn't quite make it.
But hey, 29 seasons is still a tremendous milestone. It technically is HBO's longest
Yeah.
running show.
Yes. It quite a run for Bryant Grumble. But if you're the one person who was watching The Mayor of Kingstown on Paramount Plus, you'll be happy to learn that it's got a third season.
I mean, Jeremy Renner was Emmy nominated because of it. So
Yeah, that's true. Somebody must have been paying attention.
congratulations.
All right, let's move on into the last section here, which is movies. And we always start the movie section with the weekend box office numbers.
All right.
Your number one movie, surefire horror movie hit of the year, The Nun 2, which debuted to $32 million. It's almost that season. Spooky season is almost upon us. Number 2, The Equalizer 3 with another $12 million. That's at 61 total. Number 3, My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3. A lot of threes happening here. $10 million in its debut. Just a shrug, I guess, from audiences. Number 4, Jawan with $6 million, I guess, in its debut. That's at 7.4.
That is an international film that is making its US debut.
Aha. And then rounding out your top 5, Barbie with another 5.7 million. That's at a cool 620. Upcoming this week, only one release for you. A Haunting in Venice. So more horror, scary business going into your spooky season.
Technically, there is an animated film called The Inventor about Leonardo da Vinci coming out, starring Matthew Barry and Daisy Ridley and Marion Cotillard. But I have yet to see an actual trailer for that.
So may not actually be coming out, is my guess.
Yes, it says it's supposed to come out, but yeah, your big film is Hercule Poirot once again solving a murder mystery. This time in Venice,
And it's spooky.
and it could be a ghost this time. Who did it?
Probably not.
You
No,
can't arrest a ghost.
It's never a
Ooh.
ghost. It's never a ghost. All right, let's move on. Our first story in movie news this week is an update about the WGA. According to the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, on Friday night, the studios all remain aligned, even though that's not what the WGA has been saying, and pushed the Writers Guild to respond to its latest offer. They were responding to the WGA's call earlier in the day for one or more of the member companies to break away from the alliance and negotiate a separate deal. The WGA suggested that some of the legacy studios may be willing to accommodate the writers' demands. In its statement earlier in the day, the WGA said that the AMPTP has refused to budge from its August 11th offer. They said that the Guild has not yet responded on several issues and said that the Guild has remained entrenched, quote, in its demand for mandatory minimum staffing on TV shows. So basically what's happening here is the WGA had become convinced, according to some things that they had heard from certain studio execs, that some studios were ready to go on the new deal and be a little bit more, listen to a little bit more of the WGA's concern. However, the AMPTP, in order to save face, has to say that they're aligned. Otherwise, they seem a weak organization, right? Like they don't want to appear weak in dealing with the WGA.
They are as aligned as Drew Barrymore is with the WGA.
Yeah, sounds like it. Out of curiosity, who do you think these studios that actually wanted to play ball are? Because I bet they're not Disney or Warner.
Nope, it's definitely Peacock and NBC.
It's definitely Universal.
Comcast.
It's definitely a Paramount. It's one of those two. It's the studios that are smaller fish that want to be like, no, we need to get this going and we'll give you what you want. They can't hold out as long as the Disneys of the world can.
I wonder, oh, because Apple's not a part of this because they're not a part of the
they're not a member.
Yeah, they're not a member.
So yeah,
so like them and Netflix are doing their own thing in streaming, so they're not a part of it.
Right.
So what they're referring to in that August 11th offer is a 69-page document that was sent to the WGA to review. They reviewed it. They sent back a 4-page offer that's cut out a lot of the bullshit and said, this is what we are looking for. Don't send us a 69-page fluff piece when we want these specific demands.
Yeah, this is all we're asking
that's
for.
The impasse that they are at right now.
Yeah.
And that's why the AMPTP is saying that, well, they're not addressing the other 65 pages that we sent them. Even though those other 65 pages are you suck.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you had access to it. Wow, you read the whole thing? Wow. It's a lot of na-na-nas.
Yes.
Anyways. So yeah, we'll of course have updates as they happen, but yeah, this is going to be a stalemate for a while.
And this is as we head into the holiday season, fall and winter here, where if we don't hear anything come end of October, you're not going to see anything until probably February after the holidays.
No, it's going to be a dark time. All right. Speaking of dark times, actually, no. This is actually kind of a fun story, if a bit of an expensive one. Disney is hoping that you like them still enough that you will enjoy celebrating their 100-year anniversary with them.
I do like that they're doing this. However, I don't like that they didn't call it the Vault.
Too easy. Also,
I know.
If they called it the Vault, Song of the South would have to be on here.
Yeah, kind of.
It's not. Anyway, yes, they're celebrating their 100 years with the release of the Disney Legacy Animated Film Collection, which includes 100 animated films from Disney, Walt Disney Animation Studios, Disney Toon Studios, and Pixar that will be released later this year. There are a few Disney animated features produced outside of its animation studios, including Henry Selick's The Night Before Christmas and his live-action animation hybrid James and the Giant Peach, as well as Tim Burton's sorely underrated, according to whoever wrote this, Frankenweenie. The collection is filled with original poster designs and comes with digital codes for every movie, alongside a lithograph from Disney's upcoming feature, Wish, as well as a certificate of authenticity and a crystal Mickey Mouse ears engraved with Disney 100 logo. The limited edition collection will be available on November 14th, with pre-orders beginning on Walmart.com on September 18th, and has a retail price of, drumroll please, $1,500. So roughly $15 per film.
Yes. So that's $15 per Blu-ray.
Yes.
Plus digital codes, plus the very expensive, I assume, and not cheap crystal Mickey Mouse
Yeah.
ears, plus
So
the all the box that it comes with and
right.
everything. So yeah,
Yeah.
$1,500 for 100 Blu-rays
Yeah.
of Disney films.
I mean, I think they know who they're marketing to. They're marketing to the people who already are getting like D23 magazine and go to the expo every year and are season pass holders. It's like there is a certain Disney fan that will absolutely spend the money on this. It's like one annual pass. But for
See,
100 movies you get to keep.
see, if I can like buy this, but then make payments on a monthly basis for a full year, then yeah, that's more reasonable. Like
Yeah.
100, what, like $110 a
Right.
month for a full year.
I mean, if we
Yeah,
go like if we went like halvesies on this,
right.
like then maybe because that's the thing is I thought about it and somebody thankfully did the math for me so I didn't have to do this. Well, how much Disney Plus, a place where all of these things are available, costs in comparison to this? Someone did the math and apparently it would be 13 years of Disney Plus subscription, even in the ad-free tier, the one we both pay for,
Mm-hmm.
in order to get to the amount of this. Yes. Do you get to keep these Blu-rays longer than 13 years? Of course you can. Also, is Disney Plus going to exist in 13 years? Who the hell knows? So yes, there are some ifs and question marks in that, but still 13 years when I already have access to all this stuff and pretty much the same quality. I know. Don't yell at me, people who are like, oh, but the bit rate is bad in streaming. I know all that. I obviously know all that. I'm listening to you on Sennheiser headphones using a recently bought headphone amp. I know how bitrate and streaming works. You don't need to explain to me. However, to me, financially, I am not spending $1,500 on something that's marginally better when I could just continue having access to Disney Plus, a thing that I can just press a button and pull these movies up.
Yes, but what is it that we say constantly on
I
this
know,
podcast?
I know, but
Physical
yes,
media.
physical media. And I think it's cool that they're doing this because it is kind of anti-Disney in a way. Like of being like, hey, you don't have to pay us this monthly rate. We're just going to give you a one-time fee to access all this stuff, an essential Disney vault of our movies. But it's just so expensive. And that's a lot of movies that you have to find a place for. So
Well, it comes in its own like 3 vault case. Yes, the
yeah.
case itself is huge. There's a whole like video on it. But to have the actual physical media of it, but you do have to then ask yourself, one, do I have a Blu-ray player or something to play Blu-rays? And then two, it's 2023. Blu-rays have been around for what, 15 years now?
15 years.
Good 15 years. How much longer do they have until the next thing comes? If there is going to be a next thing.
Well, that's the thing is there already is a next thing. These aren't it. They could have done 4K UHDs of
Yes,
this.
these are
They
not
didn't.
4K. These are
They
just
didn't.
standard def. HD.
Yeah,
I think
HD.
if it's possible, if it's in HD, it can be. Otherwise, if it's not, it's
Well,
not.
the assumption when you buy a Blu-ray is that it has been upresed. That's the
Yes.
assumption that they're using the film cuts of this. Of course, the question about some of them that were hybrid film and DVD releases, like the Planes movies, which are on here for some stupid reason,
Yes.
like then maybe it brings that into question. There are also some movies here that are actually here in Blu-ray form for only the second time. Someone pointed out that there had only been a limited Disney Movie Club Blu-ray of The Black Cauldron before this. This is a actual Black Cauldron Blu-ray. And also, I think they were saying like the Jungle Book 2 or something like that. I don't know. There was a few of these that this is their first major release on Blu-ray, which is kind of impressive that Disney went to the work doing it.
Yeah.
But still,
It
it'll
goes.
be up to you whether it's worth it or not.
It spans everything from Snow White through I think number 100 they're listing at as Elemental.
Elemental is the last film on the
Yes.
series. Yeah. So yeah, and it does have a lot of surprising entrants. I mentioned the Planes movies, but there's also like things like Peter Pan 2, because I guess that was a theatrical
Yep.
release. There's stuff like
Tinkerbell's in here too,
a Goofy movie
but
is
not an
on here.
extremely goofy movie.
No, because that was direct to DVD that did not get a film release or
Yep.
direct to VHS at that point, actually.
Yes. Which is why you need to remind people that these are the film releases,
Right.
shake them when they say, "Oh, why isn't
Oh
this
yeah.
on there? Why isn't that on
Why
there?"
isn't Lion
These
King
are
2 on here? Why is Return of Jafar on here? It's like, you idiots.
this
Like,
is film,
yeah,
animated,
theatrical release.
theatrical released animated films.
So yeah, it is what it is. It's for the collectors. It's not necessarily for the people who are Disney Plus subscribers and only Disney Plus casual watchers. So I'm glad it exists, but also it's just such a hefty price tag for something like this. If maybe we had like a third person to go in on and we split it 3 ways, that's still like $500.
Each one gets their own vault.
It's like, yeah, like then it's like, oh, it becomes like almost like a library that we're sharing, then maybe, but like that's even like splitting hairs at that
Yeah,
point.
but then we just become that Simpsons episode where they buy Radioactive Man #1.
Yeah, and yeah, become 3 men in a Disney vault set. But anyway,
Anyways, I
yeah,
know who
it
this is for. I'm going to put this on my Christmas list, send it to my rich fancy uncle that doesn't know that I exist, and say, "Hey, can you buy this for me
well, if he
for
doesn't know,
Christmas, please?"
yeah, if he doesn't know you exist, then that might be a little hard to go reach.
Oh, see, this is how you get over the guilt of him not knowing me for so long.
Fair enough. All right. So that's that story. That's it for movie stories. Anything else before we wrap up the podcast?
We are concluded then with 400 episodes.
Hey, we did it. 400
Hey,
of
and
them.
if you've been with us for this long, thank you. Whether you've listened to episode 1, episode 200, episode 398. If you just happened to stumble us and found us and say, "Hey, I want to listen to you guys to your 400th episode," thank you so much. Uh, we know at least one of you who's out there listening to us.
Yeah, at least one. So that's something. That's a little feather in our cap there. So, yes, thank you for listening to 400 episodes of the Media Boat Podcast. This has been another one of those. You can listen to another one next week. If you want to listen to our podcast, there's a couple of ways you can do it. You can watch them in video form on our YouTube channel. If you go to YouTube and search Media Boat Podcast, you can find our channel there. Like, subscribe, leave comments, click the bell for notifications when new videos go up. Whatever you want to do it. Then we also have audio versions of the podcast on podcast services such as iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon, wherever you listen to podcasts, search Media Boat Podcast. Then you can also find us on the web. Mediaboatpodcast.com is where you can see an archive of our shows, as well as some write-ups, like my write-up of Olivia Rodrigo's Guts that went live this week. You can also find us on social media services like the artist formerly known as Twitter. We're Media Boat Cast on there. We're on Facebook, search Media Boat Podcast to find our page there. And we're on Twitch, where we're streaming video games every once in a while. I was considering doing more Goodbye Volcano High tonight, but I probably won't. I feel a little tired. I might just eat dinner and play more Starfield. So without having to stream it. So yeah, look forward to maybe Thursday. Maybe I'll jump back into Goodbye Volcano High chapter 4. No, 3 on Thursday then. That's at twitch.tv/mediaboat for when we do video games. Then we're also on Discord if you want to search for a Discord. That's Media Boat Podcast. And yeah, we'll have another show for you guys next week at our usual time. So tune in then.
We'll be back next week with more news, more thoughts, more of us. We'll have actual thoughts probably on the after party finale. We'll have lots of music thoughts. There's so many albums coming out
Yeah, maybe.
that we got to find at least one thing to listen to. Yeah, and more of us. So thank you for listening to us for 400 episodes. We'll be lucky and happy, I think happy, if we end up doing this for 400 more.
Yeah, I hope so. All right. Have a good week, everybody. See you guys next time.
All right, bye.